Hey guys, Chris from Drift Outfitters, and I'm going to show you a really simple way of making some really great looking Perdigon style flies with very minimal materials. Dead simple to make. So this is just a basic thread bodied Perdigon. This is honestly one of my top producing flies. So to start off here, what we're going to do, this is a size 14 Dohiku 302 Nymph hook. Use a Hannock 230 or hook of choice. Any sort of standard Nymph hook will work. And on here I have a 3mm tungsten slotted bead in copper. And I've explained the benefits before of why we like slide beads on Nymph hooks, so I'll skip that one today. But all I'm going to do, this is some 12/0 tan Veevus thread. I'm going to start just behind that bead, break off the tag end, and as you've seen me do before, all I'm doing here is I'm pushing this bead upwards away from the point so that the majority of it is centered on top of the hook. And that's going to create a jig-like effect with this fly. That's going to actually invert the fly, keep it riding hook point up for us. So that's how we do that. And from there, I'm just going to take my thread back to the bend of the hook, or just shy of it. And I'm going to take a few fibers off of a natural Coq De Leon feather, probably about 5 or 6 fibers worth. And I'm just going to take those, place them off the tail here, or off the bend rather, catch them in just on top of the shank. I might not want them quite that long, so I'm just going to pull them in from there to a length I like. I'm looking for about a shank length worth. I'm just going to take my thread back up to the bead, covering up those butt ends. Snip off the excess. I'm just going to take my thread back down, and before I get all the way down to the bend here, what I'm going to do is this is just a dark brown Sharpie. Use any kind of permanent marker you like, and not right up against the body, but just down from it. I'm just going to marker up a stretch, so we get a nice stretch of dark brown thread here. I'm going to keep wrapping back toward the tail and trying to align things so that when I do get just to the back here, just where that tail's tied in, I'm starting on my dark brown thread. And then I'm just going to start spiraling wraps back toward the bead, sort of evenly spaced, or if anything, increasing in spacing as I go forward. And you see, as we do that, we get this really cool ribbing effect. So you can use that on dry flies, nymphs, any sort of trout pattern. That's a really cool technique to take advantage of. It works especially well for Perdigons just because the real goal here is to try and keep a really thin profile. And so by avoiding having to tie in wires and tinsels and all sorts of other things, this is just a strand of thread. We're not tying anything additional in. We've got 3 layers of the 12/0 thread itself, plus that one wrap for a rib over top. So really thin profile. Now, over top of here, I'm going to take a single strand of crystal flash. This is a medium brown crystal flash. You could use a brown Flashabou or a small brown tinsel or anything you like. And I've just brought up underneath my previous wrap here, and I'm just going to pull it in so it's just caught in behind this bead here, just like so. Then I'm going to take a couple more wraps to secure it there. All right, now I'm going to treat this crystal flash. You see, once I pull it tight, it actually flattens out nicely and becomes sort of tinsel-like for me. I'm going to take that and I'm going to make a few wraps just behind that bead there. I'm going to come over that with my thread and just catch that there. And then I'm going to make a whip finish just tight behind the bead. And you'll notice I like to do this in front of this tinsel. I find that allows me to get a little bit of a tighter whip finish spot without my wrap sliding backwards over that thorax section. I'm just going to slide that right up into that bead and pulling forward on my thread again to encourage those thread wraps to lay nice and tight against the bead. That just keeps everything really nice and tight there. Snip off my thread and snip off my tinsel there. You can can see, we've got this wonderful, just super tight-bodied nymph with a tiny hint of flash. We'll then take a little bit, this is just thin solar res. Just take a drop of that. You can use whatever sort of thin viscosity resin you like. The solar res thin's great, as is the bone dry or the loom thin or flow. All those are great for this application. So I'm just putting on enough to cover up the body. I'll hit it with our UV light. And the reason for the UV glue on here is a few things. For one, it's just increasing the durability of the fly. It's also decreasing the amount of friction between the body and the water it's sinking through, so it'll just drop faster. And the UV resin also adds a marginal amount of weight to the fly as well, so I'll encourage it just to get down a little bit more. You could leave it like that, but one nice touch that you can add, this is a little bit of black UV fly finish from Loon. And just add that wing case effect on top. And just add a couple drops here. Just slightly covering up that bead as well, like so. There we go. That's your thread-bodied Perdigon. And you can mix that up, you know, tie that in olives, browns, darker browns if you wanted to, yellows, darker oranges, any sort of color you like. It's a super quick tie, minimal materials, as I say, and it's a really good fish catcher. So definitely encourage you to try it out.